I said shoot right before this because I forgot to stream to our Facebook group. Oopsies.
Oh no.
I forgot doing that. Anyways, welcome to Get Resource. Bit frazzled right now. It just says because I noticed I just was getting prepared all that time. Where we talk about getting resource back to self-source and others. Welcome, it's Summer and Dre. How are you? And checking in with you. What's alive in you right now, Summer?
Um, just excitement to get clarity about what we're talking about today, nonviolent
Mm,
communication and why it doesn't work. I'm kind of pumped to have that discussion. Actually
mm,
make some quick clarifications, you know? Yeah. hmm So that's me.
awesome.
What about you?
Great.
You're recovering.
Oh yeah. Like I'm feeling energized.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. It just has a big contrast from being sick last few days and not having any energy at all to now having some sort of resemblance of like mobility and exertion and strength. It makes such a big difference. And so yeah, energized would be what's alive in me at the moment, even though I'm not 100%.
fantastic. That's exciting. hmm
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
learned something from being sick too, didn't you?
Well, there's the benefits of being sick, right? And just to touch on that, like realizing just the limited energy that I have, what deserves my attention and energy? What's truly important here that I don't have energy to entertain certain things that are not a priority versus when I have all the energy in the world, it's like, oh, let me do everything all at once. Yeah.
That hyperachiever of yours.
Yeah, mixed with the restless. Oh man, it's such a potent combination.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
So our topic today is why does nonviolent communication not work or it doesn't work? We could say that about anything, right? Conscious communication. There's so many modalities of it. Why doesn't it work? Where do you want to go from here?
Great question. I mean, first, for some people who might watch this or are watching it, NVC, what is it? It stands for Nonviolent Communication. It was developed by Marshall Rosenberg, who was a
Mm,
PhD in psychology for 21 years, who decided, I'm actually done being paid to judge people. So he wrote a number of books, but one of them was Speak Peace in a World of Conflict. What you say next will change your world. Um, and the reason why, in short synopsis of why I believe it doesn't work for some people, is because when we're still in the old paradigm of right and wrong, I want to get my own way, and we try to just use words without the intent behind it, with the judgments that come along with the intent. Um, it doesn't work. Language and communication isn't just about words. And we all know that. People have heard of
mm,
body language and all of that kind of stuff, but you're right, there's a level of consciousness
mm,
that comes behind the words. Um, are we judging that person? Do we wanna manipulate them into the outcome that we expect, that we think? And often we have very good
mm,
intentions. We don't even realize we're coming across as manipulative or slightly forceful in their field, and the only way we can really check is by asking, and we're not really used to doing
mm,
that. So people tend to avoid what feels
mm.
uncomfortable. Mhm.
Yeah. Avoiding conflict, avoiding things that are uncomfortable. Perhaps because I'm less skillful and I'm afraid to make it worse. So I might as well just putter away and hopefully it just goes away, right? Yeah. Yeah. Good point about that. Summer is about the consciousness, right? Like when I go into NVC or I want to learn something is because I want to make something happen. And what I judge most people coming into NVC is they have a problem. They have a problem with their relationship or a problem at home with their family. And I want to use NVC to solve the problem, right? It's like I want to do NVC onto others to make it go my way. and then boom, uh-oh, right? We're
Uh,
we're we're in that paradigm of, like, control and demand, and now people are gonna be like, "Hey, you're doing that MVC thing again, right?" Because I'm approaching it from a place of, having an expected outcome from learning NVC, because I want something to happen,
right.
right? I'm attached to a particular outcome. Yeah.
Yeah, and I noticed there's Mika and,
Hey, yes.
Madizzy. Is that how
Welcome.
you say that? What is this meeting about?
Yeah,
Good
if you're tuning
question.
in, if you're tuning in on YouTube there, welcome to our channel. We're here to chat about everything about how to be a human being again. How, everything is, you know, moving us into a direction to becoming more machine-like, and machines are becoming more human-like. We're in place of getting ourselves back reconnected to ourselves. We like to say getting resource back to self-source and others. So our channel is all about communication, relationships, relational dynamics, conflict, just life stuff, right, babe? Anything else you would like to add to that?
Well, relationships include to ourselves and our bodies. It includes spontaneous
Mm,
healing. What that looks like is higher consciousness, divine intelligence, and this particular is talking about
mm,
nonviolent communication. The way we communicate and use English is inherently violent, and we don't particularly we are aware of that. It's a very colonialized language, and Marshall Rosenberg, who was a psychologist for 21 years, really, as he observed people in the realm of psychology, realized, this really doesn't work. People can judge and label themselves and diagnose themselves, and in the end, it doesn't lead them very far. They try to um, I like to say we're still in this fight, force, or
mm,
fix paradigm where we're judging harshly. We think we're broken, and inherently we have some extreme divine intelligence that allows us to transform
mm,
anything. So it's getting about out of a fear paradigm that our culture is very
mm,
steeped in, both in our education, monetary, financial realms, health realms. We live in a lot of fear, and that contracts the field and the relationships that we're in when we live it. It brings about what we don't want.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. So, circling it back to, like, why doesn't NVC work, right? Um, I find the difference is that as a human being, I have like a mental body and an emotional body, a spiritual body. And so where NVC doesn't work is when I start using it mechanically. Like if I were to just follow the structure, like observations, right? Noticing what I see or hear, specify my feelings and my needs and make a request. But if I'm speaking from here, let's say, right? It seems so robotic, right? It seems like I'm trying to force something. Or even if I was listening from NVC, guessing your feelings and needs, and I'm doing it from here, it may come off as like I'm fixing you. I'm trying to solve the problem, right? It's not really felt, right? So what would you say to that, Summer, of like the difference between someone guessing your feelings and needs and it feels like you're doing that MVC thing again. It seems like it's so robotic or mechanical. It doesn't seem like you're really hearing me versus it's really landing.
Yeah, well, I mean, he does have a script,
Yeah.
right? Or an idea, right? Whenever we start, like I've seen these amazing clips where this guy is teaching people how to do flips and different kinds of breakdancing moves and stuff like that. And he starts with the first move. First, put your hand up, then put your other hand up. Okay, one, two, and then clap. That's how you clap, right? He breaks it down. And so often people mistake the level one of nonviolent communication as well, that's it. Here's the script and the mechanics of it. Well, no, it's about getting into your body and feeling okay, I think in my head I've got to put one hand and second hand. Oh, and then I clap them together. It feels very mechanical versus, oh, now I understand in a body sense embodied way how this works. Um, we've been taught to stay in our head. through education, we regurgitate information mostly. You're given the right answers. Is it A, B, C, D? There's no actual encouragement of creative problem solving that involves trust in the field that we exist in. You're an electromagnetic field. I'm an electromagnetic field. We have feelings that are felt beyond our skin, and we're not used to trusting that information. I know you always say, it's other types of data. So NVC is really about putting language to feeling, to what we're noticing in the moment. That's when it's most powerful versus having a plan and pre-scripting it and then writing it. We have to be able to be present to the person who's in front of us. And I think a lot of people make the mistake of going, okay, this is how I'm feeling. And I'm going to go over here and tell this person versus seeing it as a relational, reciprocal in the moment. What am I noticing here? And I think that's the biggest difference is I think a lot of people plan what they're going to say. They don't know how to check in with their body in the moment and relay that information as a continuous process. Um, so they're using a guide as a literal script, and I think that's the
Yeah.
problem. A big piece of it
Yeah,
anyways.
one example is if anybody has done sales before, they kind of give you a sales script, right? You work for a company and you got a sales script, right? And just imagine if you were just to read off that script without putting your own energy into it. It would probably sound very robotic. I'm sure if you were at the other end receiving that, you'd be like, no, right? There's no connection. It feels very transactional. But then after a while, as I do it, right, I make it my own. I use my own language. My own body language gets involved as well. My tone and cadence, right? I become human rather than robotic. So I find with NVC, like it's a great way to start learning the mechanics of it. But then where it becomes a spiritual practice is the embodiment of it through living the feelings and
Mhm.
needs, right? Really connecting the feelings. So I find MVC such a great practice where people come in wanting to use this for somebody else, to do it to somebody, right? To fix the situation. But actually, it's a practice to connect with myself first. That's what I realized through this work is that MVC is teaching me to connect to my own feelings and needs, to have self connection, to have self empathy with myself first, especially if I want to be listening to someone, right? If I'm listening to someone, and let's say I'm either in my head, right? Because I'm zoning out, trying to fix this problem, or I'm listening from a place of being so reactive and angry because I want to be right and I just want to use this stuff, right, to kind of defend my point, then I've really kind of lost the script on this, right? I've really lost the intention. But if I come back to myself, self regulate, self connect, then I have space to really hear what's really going on, right? Despite the chaos. So I find MVC really starts with me. What do you say about that?
It starts with you. Um, I'm actually not sure. I'm feeling a sense of confusion by that statement when you say that. Actually, can you clarify?
Yeah. So MVC, when I start realizing is that like I come in wanting to um, have conscious communication with my parents or my brother and sister or a coworker, right? Right away, immediately, because I'm looking generally to solve a problem that's outside of me. So I want to look for a script. I want to look for a solution,
Mm.
fix, right?
Mm.
And that's where MVC comes in. Great. And then I start using it and I'm like sitting down at the table. Hey, let's talk. I learned this NVC thing and we got to say observations and feelings and needs. And this other person has no freaking clue what I'm talking about, but I'm trying to teach them because I want us to get to know each other better and deepen our intimacy. So, what are you feeling? Okay, so what are you needing? Right? Imagine that I'm diagnosing my partner, guiding them through this process. How would that make you feel at the end of the day, right? Because I'm going in with the intention of
Oh.
trying to solve something. But I realize in order for me to tap into the consciousness of MVC, is that I need to connect with myself first. Because if I don't, I'm coming from
Yes.
my head. I'm coming from my
Mhm.
head. This idea of, like, to
Yep.
truly listen from MVC is this idea of mourning, right? Like, mourning the impact I have caused on you by my
Hang on.
actions. And did you have something?
Can
Yeah.
I pause you there? Yeah, 'cause, I'm losing, cause I got
Yeah.
clarification and now
I don't know, I'm just excited
feeling a bit
because 'cause I'm ready
lost
to
again.
continue on to the next trail I
Yeah.
was gonna talk about.
'Cause yeah, morning is getting me lost, but, in terms of, yeah, the head thing, people don't like being taught. So I find when people learn, and back to NVC, what it stands for is nonviolent communication, from Marshall Rosenberg, who was a PhD in psychology, who's done being paid to judge people. So he saw that English is inherent as well. And so I noticed some of our clients, my clients, they start learning and they get super excited. And then they just want to take it to all their family and friends. And like you say, they run away from them because they're like, "Oh, well, here's what I learned. Like, I'm teaching you. I know better than you. Here you go." Right. And we're trying to get them to do something versus, like you say, checking in with myself. People come
Mhm.
take the courses and they're like, "Oh, I thought I came here to connect with my partner.
Mm.
Actually, I'm learning how to connect and talk to myself." Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, what's going on in my body right now? What's happening in me? And then what do I do when I notice something's happening to me? Do I judge myself? Do I tell myself a story about what's going on here? And then if I don't like what's going on in myself, do I then blame the other person for what's going on inside myself? This is something that
Mm.
happens so quickly, and we're kind of taught this behavior. Um, and now time back your morning piece, and I've
Mm.
kind of accidentally, but also watched a couple of crime shows recently, and I just think it's so sad that people who, find themselves exhausted, their nervous systems are overwrought, and they might injure somebody or hurt somebody or do something, and then they're punished. There's no recognition of or support, and, well, how did you come to that place? And what were you feeling? What were you noticing? What were you needing? There's this such a shame base in our culture that doesn't allow for connection in that way. And I don't know if people have ever seen that Step Inside the Circle, where they worked in prison environments, and every time something had happened to them, you know, did your father ever yell at you? Were you ever spanked? And you know, step inside the circle. And so many of us have so many of the same experiences that we think we're
Mm.
alone, and we hide it and we're ashamed, and we all try to behave in a way that we're taught is good versus the truth.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
truth is what's up in Marshall Rosenberg's work. What's alive in me, which doesn't mean what's great. Are you excited? It means what's going on in your body right now. And are you willing to share that right now, here in the present moment with me?
Mhm. Yeah. So MVC, like, really, I've discovered it's building the first relationship, which is myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like, whoa, I didn't realize that. And I wouldn't have known that until I've steeped into it and practiced it long enough to realize, yeah, it's actually building my first relationship is with myself. Because the whole idea is, in order for me to have empathy, to truly hear other people, I first got to have empathy for myself. Like, if I'm doing, let's say, conscious communication with someone that I'm not triggered with, right? They're talking about someone else. It's so friggin' easy because I'm not throwing it in a shame spiral. I'm not personalizing it. I'm not having a story that's my fault. But let's say I am involved in this confrontation and this conflict, and they're talking about me, right? It could be so easy to personalize it, make it about me, or pretend I'm doing MVC, but I'm actually activated and triggered if I didn't give myself first self compassion and self empathy to then have the capacity to hold someone else's pain, right? So critical to be like checking in with myself. What am I feeling and needing? And even speaking from that place, I'm not really doing MVC onto you, right? Right?
Onto
Because I
you.
can come out of the bloom like, hey, are you feeling and needing? And you're like, man, why are you being so annoying? Are you doing this MVC thing again? Shit. You know? But I could just share what's alive in me, right? And then people are like, "Oh, I'm not putting any demands on you. I'm not trying to teach you. I'm just expressing my truth. And you get to deal with how you want to deal with that, right?" But it doesn't encroach on you in a way, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, well, and we had this conversation with a group of ladies the other day about, well, what do people say about their truth, right? There's some obnoxiousness. Some people talk about stories. Well, you're just an asshole. That's my truth. You know, the labels and the names. That's my truth. Um,
Mm,
what we're talking about is our inner landscape, the truth of um, what's going on and what we've distorted our whole life. Because as Gabor Mate says, we're often fighting against belonging and authenticity. We kind of distort ourselves to fit in, and often in different families or whatever, there's a certain way you need to and should behave. You must be polite. Children should be seen and not heard. Those are some of the old paradigms. And this switches the paradigm to those things can coexist. I can be authentic and I can belong, and I belong because I'm speaking to what's happening me in the moment. And as people open up to willing to become more human, like you said, what's really going on in us? Why do we have feelings? Are they these appendages that are useless? Should we just get rid of them and become more robotic? Or do we need to go, wait a sec? Maybe my emotions, my sensations, my feelings, my intuition is part of my divine intelligence. Perhaps it's some of the most important information that we have, and we've mislabeled it. We've been taught how flaky it is or unimportant it is. And maybe this is why we see so many illnesses, anxieties, because we actually work against our own makeup.
mm,
Like, is it something flawed innately about us? Or is it something flawed about the way that we're diagnosing and labeling and judging us
mm,
that we need to be fixed? Even that whole idea of conflict. Conflict means fighting. Well, what do I have to fight? And why am I doing that? What's the premise that I come to everything from? And when I work with women and clients, it's usually, oh, well, there's something broken and I need to fix it in me. Often, growing up in a religious aspect, we're going to be punished and we have to do certain behaviors and whatever. Otherwise, Creator doesn't accept us. We don't go to heaven. That's one belief. Or just in general, in healing and even in psychology, there's something wrong with you. We have to diagnose and label you and put you on drugs to numb it or regulate you or whatever. Maybe
Can I
our
say
nervous
something?
system has a different idea. Yeah, of course.
I'm noticing like you have some charge against like the way things are and the paradigms of what we're kind of been born into.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Am I accurate?
A charge against what
Yeah,
we've been born into.
yeah. The
Yeah, for
paradigm that we're
sure.
swimming in, the domination
Mhm.
paradigm, the labeling, the judgment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it puts me in a box, and I don't like being in a box.
Mm,
Yeah. Mhm. It can be helpful on occasion, but if I'm in a box, if I'm restricted, um, then I just wanna break free, right?
mm,
It's like when we go to families and old environments, people think we play a certain role, and so we're steeped back in that environment. I think that's why we seek out new people, new environment who we interact with, and that brings something different out of us,
mm.
that
When you
elicits
said like
something new.
put in the box, does that mean like being controlled?
It means being seen one way versus being
Mm,
present, which is allow new experiences. Every person's a new person when you go to experience them again. But if you go with what you think they are in your mind,
mm,
it seems like they're always the same.
mm. Which is judgment, right? If I'm judging someone, then I'm placing a box on who they are. And for you, if you were to receive that, it's extremely frustrating. It's
Yeah, I think that we're right now in such a quickening that we're learning so quickly and so fast if we're open to it,
mhm.
but only if we're open to it. If we're not open to new ideas, things seem very stagnant.
Yeah. And that is such the practice, isn't it? You know? Like, how am I using MVC? Am I using it with the old paradigm? Like the
Mhm.
domination paradigm of, fight, force, and fix is what you say, right? And from that lens, because it's just a tool, it's just like a series of mechanics. Or am I embodying a different type of consciousness? You know, um, maybe call it, right relationship or needs consciousness. I love where this is heading because this ties into the place of like, you know, allowing me to be me. You're going back to like, can I be me and belong at the same time? And that I am a human being that I still judge. And so this is the practice, isn't it? Like if I don't practice it, if I don't use my muscles, I'm going to lose it. So how do I steep myself in this consciousness and practice it? Because everywhere around me, there's labels, there's judgments, and there's stories that are celebrated, whether they're true or not, right? Um, enemy images of people, drama, news, you name it. There's somebody to hate, right?
Yeah, there
There's
always
somebody
is.
to hate. And so the practice, isn't it, is for me to like see past that, like when it's infiltrating my mind. uh, oh, I'm noticing I'm judging that homeless person. What do I do in that place to get back into alignment of, out of that judgment free, place?
Well, that's a great question. I'll probably put that question right back to you. Like,
Yeah,
we do judge, we do have stories. I think part of the gift is acknowledging them. Oh, I have this story
totally.
in my mind,
That's where I was
not
going to
getting
go.
rid of them. Mm.
That's where I was going to go, is naming my judgments, naming my stories. I'm judging. I judge that you are like, so that I can just put it out there. Like I'm not trying to like discombobulate myself, contort myself. Like it's there, it's felt. Can I just name it and own it for myself, realizing I have a judgment, and I like to get clarity on clearing this judgment. Just like I had that friend. Hey, I have a judgment about you, Dre. Thank you. Please clarify. And even today, I had a friend come towards me, share his experience of me, right?
Hmm.
And oh man, mm,
Good
yeah,
or bad? People say what they
it
appreciate,
was
but
it
yeah,
was a bad
sometimes.
experience. It was a bad experience of me, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that landed for me because that allowed me to, wow, that was my impact on him,
Mm-hmm.
and I really wanted to hear how it made him feel and what are his judgments of me and his stories, so I can get clear on my behavior, on how my behavior is impacting people out there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I might have an intention of doing good, but for other people that could be received the entire opposite way because they are not me and they have a series of experiences and whichever, right, that comes with them. And so this goes back to like that example you said about, you know what, you're an asshole and I'm just speaking my truth, right? And yeah, I mean, that's what's alive in me is like you're an asshole, right? Um, but the key thing is, can I have that consciousness knowing that I do have an impact on people? I am not responsible for how you feel, 100%, right? But my presence, the way I show up, my words, right, does have an impact. And if I consider that, then I can care for how I show up, right? I can consider maybe I don't need to be an asshole about this or be as obnoxious. That moves us into a world where Marshall says the sooner we get to realizing that your well-being and my well-being is one of the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we're stuck on this enemy images world of you versus them, right versus wrong, good versus bad. That we're actually truly all in it together. We're breathing the same air, right? The factories pumping out in China, like we are breathing it. I mean, it's same planet, one planet. We're all on. And so it
Mhm.
does take some education for me to build some awareness, and then the
Oh,
practice
mhm.
of embodying that education in real time, and it
Yeah,
takes time. It's a
yeah.
process of unlearning is what you say it, right? Isn't it all unlearning?
Oh, yeah, it's not about learning anything, it's about unlearning and remembering. Um, our true nature, I believe, is benevolent, kind, relational species, and without the fear, there's amazing things that happen. We get to awaken so much more of our capacity. We only use 5% of our brain. As we awaken everything else that our innate intelligence has, whoa, it's mind-boggling. When you can be in a small group of people and share what's alive in you, you'll be astounded at the patterns that are also in the mirrors in other people. And when you can relate to someone else and realize you're not alone and you realize the insight
Mm,
from whatever symptom, circumstance, or trigger that you're experiencing also ripples through other people, there's this exponential, innate, and spontaneous insight that happens. It's like Greg Braden's book, The Spontaneous Healing of Belief. Poof.
mm.
And the planet looks like a bit of a mess right now. Like you said, there's a lot of conflict. There's always somebody to hate. There's always some new idea to stand for or stand against or whatever. Um, and we're usually in our heads. Most people don't realize that. We're like talking heads all the time. And it's a protective mechanism, right? There's been a lot of real violence and real trauma that happens to people. And trauma is just when our nervous system is pushed beyond its capacity to understand something. But as we start to be in relationship with people, these different energetic stamps, these traumas start to come back up again. And if we do the same thing that we did with them back then, we do re-traumatize ourselves versus, oh, what's the story I tell myself about this? How do I judge what's going on in my body, this anxiety or this panic? I notice, I work with a lot of people with anxiety or panic, and it really comes from their thoughts about what's going on in their body. They're judging it and they're going into fear, and then the panic escalates. But as you can breathe into what's going on in your body without judgment, it moves in 30 to 90 seconds. It's about trusting that. And our culture does not do that. It's fear based and it creates the problems based on that.
Mm.
Yeah. Miss Fiona.
Hey, Fiona.
Hello from
Welcome.
Ontario. How
Oh.
exciting. Yeah, we're just actually funny talking about anxiety and our fear based reactions and being able to step back and observe. That's one of Marshall's things is observations, but it's not about necessarily making an observation of the other person. It's about making it about us. Oh, this is going on in my body right now. My stomach is clenching. And what do we think in that moment? Oh, I must have ate something I don't like. Maybe I've got cancer. Oh, what does that? That's what we're taught to do. We're taught to diagnose it versus, if I breathe into that sensation in my body, what do I notice? Like pure energetic experience, no thoughts. This is where it's difficult for most people. But as you just observe that part of your body, that belly, whatever contraction that is, IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, goes, oh, thank you for noticing. Thank you for paying attention.
And can I
And then,
interrupt here?
yeah, it relieves itself often. Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe that now you're moving into talking about inside out, right? This modality, the being present with what's in my inner reality.
Well, I mean,
Just to follow.
NVC,
Yeah.
conscious communication, yes. I mean, we can label it all sorts of different things, but attending to the pure energetic experience is called inside out, but it's very connected to conscious communication. Yes.
Yeah. So tying it to conscious communication, NBC. Um, how would you say like bringing that back into like living it, embodying it, like I guess applying it to NBC I'm trying to connect the dots between like the inner reality, inner experience of what you just shared there to conscious communication.
Yeah, well, there's often a real split for people between their spiritual beliefs, what's going on in their body, and what they speak. It's often a very different thing. We often speak based on what we want people to think about us, based on what we think we should look like, our masks, our personas, whatever it is we want people to think about us. So often what's going on inside of this is not translated in the moment to what we're actually speaking. There's some kind of distortion, manipulation, control, fear coming through in that translation. So conscious communication is being aware of your saboteurs and the ways that you tend to shift things. Like if you're a people pleaser or an avoider or an hyperachiever, like you said, I'm restless and I like to achieve all sorts of things. And the practice becomes being able to translate what I feel in my body and speak it out loud in the moment. We don't do that. So, Inside Out is really about getting familiar and trusting the inner terrain and then bridging that to conscious communication, which is the verbal aspect of that and communicating that to others. So,
Hmm.
there's a bridge that happens there. We can't do NVC. Like you said, if we're stuck on our head doing nonviolent communication, it doesn't come across right. We actually have to do it from our body. And the way to do that is to start learning about your body sensations and trusting them and being able to actually name them. People are like, oh, it feels good, bad, sad, mad. We don't go, oh, there's a slight wave pulse. Like we don't pay attention and don't describe it. It's kind of like the symphony. Our body is a symphony. You go to enjoy the symphony. If it's just one trumpet, I have a stomach ache again. And we don't pay attention to the nuances of flutters or, oh, it's gurgling or it's cramping. We don't really pay attention to the nuances of what's being described and communicated from our body.
Hmm. Yeah, so this happens like in the speed of light that, I skip to a story, right? Or a meaning of something or a judgment of perhaps someone. Yeah. Happens so quickly, get into the head, right? And I find that it's so like much more critical for high stake relationships, especially I'm in trigger with someone to really, express what's really happening in my inner experience rather than coming from my head. Because yeah, the other person's probably going to be like, you're not with me. They feel it, right? You're not with them empathically. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I see Fiona says, yeah, me too. I'm not sure what you, me too. What did I say that you said me too to? Um, I mean, even last night, right? You're feeling sick and negative, and sometimes we take what people say literally versus, oh, maybe they're just not feeling well. And if I sit in my body, I'm like, oh, he's just speaking how negative he feels in his body. And sometimes we take things so personally. We're taught to do that, and
Mm.
it's another person's experience isn't about us. We often take that on like, oh, I'm responsible for their emotions, I'm responsible for their experience, and we can certainly care about their experience. Um, but as we turn our attention inward, it's such a different experience as we can take complete, full, radical responsibility for what we're perceiving. And the insights all come, the sense of peace doesn't come from somewhere outside of ourselves. It comes from within, from accepting, honoring, and trusting what's going on inside of us, and the wisdom that just emerges through us.
Yeah. And it may seem like the long path, right? Like let's say I learn
Mm,
NBC and I want to use it to repair, you know, a conflict with my mom. And again, it takes two people to be willing, right? And what if she's not willing, right? What if I'm using my feelings and needs and she's like, you're using our feelings and needs things again, right? Or I'm guessing her feelings and needs is like, you're doing that thing again. closed off, right? So what do we do in this case? Well, the thing is I'm learning it, right? I'm learning this language. I'm learning this paradigm. And my only job is to continue to embody it the best that I
Yep,
can.
exactly.
Therefore, what happens is how I show up with my mom is different. There's a lot more compassion for where she's is, to meet her where she's at instead of trying to force her to have her meet me where I'm at, right? And so that is the journey. And enough of us that learn this language for our own reasons do that, then all of a sudden there's this concept of self leadership that leads to creating heaven on earth. That each and every man and woman now takes responsibility for their inner experience, for their stories, for their judgments, for their actions, for their emotions and outcomes. And then we could be truly sacred mirrors for each other, right? Yeah. And it makes it think, makes it simple too. Like you're just telling me, Dre, like I just need to learn how to practice this in my day to day and just worry about me. Yep. That's it. You don't need to fix anybody. You don't need to save anybody. You don't need to help anybody. You just need to continue to steep in this consciousness and show up as best you can. And there's days where you're going to be human. There's days where you're going to slip. Your saboteur is going to come out. But the goal is to have more good days than bad days, right?
Right, I do wanna caution, like, it sounds like this is an individual experience. All you have to do is come back to yourself, but, um, we often can't see ourselves without the reflection of others, and so, steeping ourselves in this type of consciousness with others. Like, for me, I wanna be around other people who understand the language. For me, it's all surface top and what did they used to call that? When people just talk at parties. What kind of talk is that?
Small talk.
Small talk.
Yeah.
Small talk bores the crap out of me. Even somewhat interesting conversation, intellectual conversation bores me. I want to know what's alive for you. How do you experience the world and life and why? And, I really see a distinction now when I hear people tell stories about others, their parents, their partners, and why they're right or, um, you know, lawsuits and divorces and all of these things is so exhausting because it's based on a falsehood of a story that someone's right and someone's wrong, and there's just no such thing. There's people longing to be met. There's this book, The Five Love Languages. That's one thing, but the other is just being with the human being in their experience, and sometimes
Mm,
we can't do that because sometimes what people are experiencing can be really extreme and painful. Especially if they're in a victim story.
mm,
And like Stephen Covey said in his 7 Habits of Highly, seek to understand and then be understood. It it took me years to understand what he meant by that and to actually do it without getting oh, well, if they say this about me and I'm listening to them, I have to defend myself. Mm, uh-uh. Let them share their story. If you're really neutral to it, it shifts they're like, "Oh, I've got nothing to, like, poke anymore. This isn't working. What's going on?" So how we show up every given moment about, you know, judging versus allowing shifts a field for someone else. Not that we have to do that, it's just about being in our own body, and it happens naturally. We do not have to do anything. It's about how we're being and how we're inhabiting in our own body in this centered, neutral, open way that allows new possibilities to emerge in any situation.
mm.
And it's tricky because we've been taught to control and be fearful and have a certain outcome and set goals that create that certain outcome. And it prevents us from being present and actually seeing the possibilities in the moment.
Mhm. Yeah, as you were sharing that, like, just realized it's so important for me to, yeah, really come back to myself, and when someone is stuck in a story, um, there's no opening for me to offer a different perspective or try to
No.
teach or coach or guide. Like, it just they just want to be validated. And to me, it's like I always think of like there could be two rights in a conversation, right? If I was in that person's shoes with all the experiences and trauma and whichever, I probably have the same perspective. This idea of like, can I just accept you despite our differences? And if I don't connect with myself and give myself that compassion to validate my own experience, then it can be so tough, especially if I'm involved in that story because I want to so defend my point of view. But yeah, it's like
Mhm.
it's so important for me to connect with myself so that I have the capacity to hear someone until they feel heard, as if there's a relaxation in the body. And then maybe they're open. Maybe they're open to hearing a different perspective. And I'm finding in my men's work, it's always consent based. And if I do receive permission to share, I always share from my own experience,
Mm.
right? Using I language, I statements. Um, if I was you, this is what I would do, and and it allows them to see it and observe it and take what resonates and leave the rest, right? I'm not imposing on them with using you language and creating this teacher student dynamic at all. Sovereignty is key. And when going back to knowing that being controlled, right? If there's a hint of wanting, or a, a sense of me being controlled, then there's probably a part of me that wants to rebel and push back on that.
Yeah, it's a natural desire of human beings to be sovereign and free. Yeah. So
Yeah.
coming back to here's what I feel. This is what I'm seeing. Like sometimes I'll talk to my clients and okay, well, if I close my eyes, this image pops to mind about what you're experiencing, and they'll be like, yeah, that's exactly what it feels like, And but there's always that idea of, well, does it resonate with you? And sometimes people don't know. They're confused between what's true and or is it coming from their head? And so the practice allows for the discernment of what they do in kinesiology when they muscle test you. It's quite prevalent now in naturopathic offices where they'll test a supplement. Is it good or bad for you? Like, is this going to improve your nervous system, your well-being or not? Well, is we can test these things like thoughts and stories and judgments the same way, but from the inside out. Um, and I think this is where we're going with human consciousness is being able to do that for ourselves. We don't need outside measurements, but we still have a lot of technology that's coming from the outside. I can't wait to build the inner technology. This is what I'm excited about. It's so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. And why is it so important to you?
Why is it so important to me? Because I feel so nourished and have so much life energy when I'm with people that share at that level. Um, it opens me to a world of magic and wonder and trust in a life force. It invigorates me. I
Mm.
can sit with people for days on end and just be more and more invigorated over and over again versus people in their stories and judgments and blah, 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 labels and diagnoses. I just feel like someone just put a drain in me and it's just sucking me dry.
Mm. Mm.
I'm I'm curious about you. Like I know your life is or life, your work is life-giving, and I'm wondering if you're able to pinpoint why.
Mm. In a way, it gets me connected to what's real, like source, God, creator. Um, yeah, like when Marshall talks about the life-serving energy, there's something with that, getting connected to that, as if I'm getting connected to life, mm, the life
Mhm.
force that flows through me and flows through people, like what's real, um,
Yeah. That's what's real,
underneath
right?
the distortions, yeah, and the stories and judgments and all that. So getting clarity, right? And I know I've hit the mark when, yeah, like you said, it becomes invigorating and nourishing. It enlivens me. It helps me make sense of who I am and how I'm navigating this world alongside other human beings.
Mhm.
Yeah, because, oh man, just being with my psyche alone can be overwhelming. Yeah, there's many
Well,
thoughts and many parts. And
yeah, we're not meant to be alone, and we're so isolated these days. Do you remember the movie where this guy goes on a spaceship and they're all put into cryo sleep, and then his pod accidentally wakes up and
yeah,
he's by himself for
passengers.
months? Passengers. And he just has to wake someone else up to share his experience with.
Right. Yeah.
It's true, we go crazy in our own head, and we're almost in a cryo sleep. We're asleep in our own pods, in our own brain most of the time because we're not sharing what gives us life. And it's everything that's already in our body. It's not something that's outside of us.
Hmm. And we're so adaptable. Like our skill to be resilient, adaptable is like off the charts, right? Like
Mm,
for me to survive, or my psyche to block out certain memories to protect myself, like it's so good at that. It's so good
yeah,
at creating a persona for me to like live out this life that will keep me safe and just encase myself in it, and be
yeah,
so afraid of like letting that fall apart, because then my world would fall apart. Would that mean I would die? Right. So I find through this work, like, experiencing many micro deaths of my identity of who I am.
yeah.
Like this idea of like the more I know, the more I don't know. And it's very humbling.
Mm.
It's very humbling.
Yes, it
Right?
is. It's
Um,
very
and it's humbling to my ego, right? To come to a place of like allowing my ego to work with me, like having a healthy ego and checking it in, to be in service to something greater than myself. Because there is, yeah.
yeah. Fiona says, "Me, language keeps me out of judgment." Me language. Oh,
Yeah.
I language,
So
right. Mhm.
exactly. So I love to hear from people watching, like, have you tried NBC, conscious communication, Imago dialogue? Like, if you have, like, why doesn't it work? Why does it go sideways? You know? We're
Mhm.
curious. We're curious to hear from you. Again, we shared about our thoughts around it. Um, but to tie back and kind of wrap this up, Summer, what else do you want to say about that? Why doesn't NBC land? How, or the way we're approaching it?
Let's see, why doesn't NBC land? I mean, I think it's a foreign concept. Um, you do have to be uncomfortable. So if people are seeking comfort and ease, it won't land. um,
Hmm.
yeah, that's one thing I would say. What about you? Why do you see it doesn't land for some people or work?
Mm. Yeah, uh, simply, I'm coming from the perspective of using it to do something to someone.
Mm. Yeah, have them
I
see
have
my
an
point of
agenda.
view.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have an outcome. I have a plan,
Mm.
and people can smell that out
Yeah.
when there's a plan for them. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's not
So
actually
hard.
having a plan for anybody. It's not about trying to solve or fix somebody or the situation. It's actually revealing what's alive in me. It's actually revealing my humanness, and then inviting others through my modeling of my humanness to be swimming in that same space. so that we can co-create and collaborate on how to make life more wonderful.
Yes. And that
Yeah.
sounds flaky, but actually attending to what's alive, what's most present in the moment, and what's most needed actually brings about the outcomes in a much quicker way than if we
Yeah.
try to think of the outcome first,
Isn't it
because we're
interesting?
actually present to what's needed.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of what I learned. Like, oh,
Yeah.
in order to get something done, you gotta go do it. Let's go. And it works in certain ways, but in terms of relationships, right? It's like, what happens is like in relationships, it's like you either have people that submit or rebel, right? To the
Yeah.
controllers that got everything together. This is the plan. You go and micromanage or whatever. And again, in terms of like engineering and daily tasks and practical things, like you go do it. Just go do it. Very masculine. But realizing relational is like this invitation to call forward people into their greatness is through invitation. It's like revealing what I'm feeling, what am I needing, and then making requests to see if you're open to joining me and being open to a no. And for some reason, humans, when it aligns, they just want to contribute to your well-being
They
with
do.
no
That's the
coercion.
thing.
No
No.
coercion.
No coercion required. There's a natural desire. You see children, they wanna learn. They wanna be motivated. They wanna contribute. They wanna play. They wanna engage. They wanna create until we tell them they're doing it the wrong way. And then you see them shut down in so many different ways.
Yeah. Mm.
So, going back to our original blueprints, our natural motivation, our natural desire to learn and create and play together. Mm,
Yeah. Steeping in it.
yes.
That's right.
Steeping in it. Steeping, steeping, steeping.
Shall we hold it here? Oh, Viona's comment
Yes. What'd you say? Put it up there. I wanna see. So
here.
cool. Miss you all the way in
Showing my
Ontario.
truth is fearful to family, but not friends. It's like they don't believe me or laugh because it's too emotional. Yeah,
Mm.
there lands for me too. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, until those realms start to overlap, the friends and the family, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jen says, our natural inspiration, exactly what's already innate, is to contribute, to give to life. Yeah.
'Cause it's
True, right?
reciprocal. Mhm.
Most people, maybe 99.9% of the world want to leave the place better, right? Than they found it. 100%.
Yeah.
And with that, we hold it here. Thank you for being with us. Yes. And of course, Fiona, my granddaughters love it when I play. Yeah. Playful energy. So if you're not part of it already, if you like to continue with these conversations or this is something that, likens you, resonates with you, we have a Facebook group, Relational Wisdom Community. Check us out. And we also have a YouTube channel. Like, subscribe. That helps us as we get more subscribers. Helps with the algorithm to know who to send this content to because it has more data. So if you're ever on watching us, we prefer you watch on YouTube so we can collect some data. If you're open to supporting us that way. Anything else you want to add to that, babe?
Ah, nope. Just say we're looking forward to having you back here in Alberta, Fiona, when you get here.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Till next time. Dre, peace out.
Bye.